You are Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming for the 8x8 for 2021. We're going to kickstart the event real soon in 5 minutes. Please get seated, grab your drinks for the online crowd and our Taipei crowd and our Shanghai crowd. Yes, we are going to start very, very soon. Thank you.
No, this is Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the new global SOSV Crossborder 8x8. Please, big applause. We have people connecting from all over the world, and to this year, as a part of our innovation, we're bringing together our offices in Taipei and Shanghai with speakers connecting also offline from Shanghai and Taipei. And of course, we'll have, as always, people from all over the world. I'm Oscar Ramos. I'm going to be your MC for today. But what I would like to do right now is first explain what's going to happen today. We're going to start with a brief remarks for those of you that are new to us, so you can get to understand more. What do we do? After that, we'll get to meet the latest startups that we have invested, the newest companies, first time that they all in public present themselves with a 1-minute elevator pitch. After that, we'll take a group picture, celebrating that we can meet offline, slowly more and more, but also we'll have something for the online people. And after that, we'll get our 8 fantastic speakers, all of them sharing new stories, each of them in 8 minutes. And after that, if you are in one of the offline venues, you are more than welcome to continue the networking and conversations in the areas where we'll have drinks and food. And with that, what I would like is to welcome on stage William Bobin, General Partner in SOSV.
Hey, thanks so much. So just a brief intro, SOSV, we're a global VC. We're quite rare, actually. There are very few VCs that are truly global. Many VCs invest around the world, but it's different teams. For us, we're all one team. We're also a bit strange or different in that we invest in multiple verticals in one fund. So you're here with us today in cross-border internet and software. So we're investing in companies all around the world in internet and software. If you think Mox, it's consumer tech. For enterprise, that's Chinaccelerator. So we are global. We have offices in Shenzhen, Shanghai, Xi'an, Taipei, San Francisco, New York, and Cork, Ireland. And actually this month, very happy to be able to announce that we're opening up our Hacks USA in New Jersey. It's a $50 million program backed by a $25 million grant from the state of New Jersey. So we'll have Shenzhen Hacks, Xi'an Hacks, Tokyo Hacks, San Francisco Hacks, and now Hacks USA out of New Jersey. We are multiple verticals in one. So Hacks is our hardware platform. We're the most active investor in hardware in the world. IndieBio for biotech, where we're the most active investor in biotech in the world. And you're today here with us for Mox, which is consumer, and Chinaccelerator enterprise cross-border internet. We are the #1 most active seed and angel stage investor in the world. We invest in 140 companies per year. We're actually the #3 most active VC in the world. And it is global, #5 in the US, #5 in Europe, and this is as of Q2 14 in Asia. Last year we were #5 in Asia. There is some seasonality there. We're the most active VC in a number of categories, but also countries. So Pakistan, as of Q1, we're tied for #1. We're the #7 in India and #6 across Southeast Asia, and that's mostly Chinaccelerator and Mox. By vertical, where, as I said, hardware, biotech, #1. But for Chinaccelerator and Mox, cross-border internet, we're the #2 most active investor in media in the world and the #3 in AI. So what do we offer? We come from a traditional accelerator platform, but we've moved, we have investment, as most do. We have mentors, as most do. We have perks, as most do. But we've gone to sort of the next level. Our program actually never ends. Okay, so when I joined as a mentor along with Oscar and many people here today, 11 years ago, it was a 3-month program. Then 6-7 years ago, we extended it to a 6-month program. Now our program never ends. And we actually help with not just those standard perks and mentorship, but we've gone one step up. On the consumer side, we're the only VC in the world that provides free advertising to our portfolio companies. So free customer acquisition cost on our Mox platform. On the enterprise side, our enterprise platform, we're engaged with 230 multinationals. We're running innovation programs on and off for 42 of them, and 27 Fortune 1000 companies invested in our fund. So on the enterprise side, we provide help with sales, and not just like introductions, but also oftentimes we are in the meetings with our portfolio companies driving enterprise sales. So it's a lifelong partnership. We couldn't do it without our mentors. We have over 500 mentors, anybody here, mentor, please raise your hand. Yeah, thank you so much for mentoring. So this is the support that really helps our companies get to where they want to go. We couldn't do it without our cadre of mentors. So if you're anybody out there is interested in being a mentor, get in touch with us. We couldn't do it without our partners. So we partner with large corporations, both on the consumer and the enterprise side, to bring them deep tech, hard tech, technology solutions to make them more competitive. So on the, where does that free advertising come from? We get free advertising from these corporations. Where do the enterprise sales come from? Again, these corporations. So we're helping the biggest of the big fight back against big internet. Internet companies have used things like privacy as an excuse to create monopoly. These Fortune 500 companies are increasingly getting kicked out of the Fortune 500. They're losing their competitive edge. So we bring startups together with large corporates to make them more competitive. On our B2B portfolio, we have a number of companies that are doing quite well. We're the first and only active accelerator in Asia to have a unicorn go through the program. That's a BitMEX in 2015. But we don't stop there. Touch is a recent company where we help bring AI to companies first in India, like Disney, Netflix, Fox Sports, to enable them to leverage AI to automatically edit all their video. And then since then, we helped them expand out of India into US and Europe, where for US and Europe, we signed up English Premier League, where we're automatically editing all their broadcasts in real time so they can get cuts and clips. And also we signed up Champions League. On the B2C side, we're taking a lot that we've learned over the last 11 years in China and bringing those tips and tricks and hacks to the rest of the world. So for example, Kootloot out of India, they just closed a $8 million pre-A round, and they are basically like a Taobao, but for India. They're bringing person-to-person commerce. But just because India might be a little bit like China, but you have to localize. And in India, there's many, many languages. Also, everybody's used to bargaining in India. So we took that model, but we localized it, helped the company localize it for India so people can chat with each other. It auto-translates between 8-10 different languages. And people, on average, pay 40% below the list price for the products because they're haggling online. So a little bit different. You got to localize it. So I'm going to kick it back over to Oscar, and he's going to take us through 10 most recent investments in the cross-border internet Chinaccelerator MOX portfolio. Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to have startups connecting from all over the world now. And we're going to start first by asking you a big favor. Okay, we want you to scan these QR codes here. So if you are on the WeChat ecosystem, feel free to scan the QR code on the right. If you are on the Google ecosystem, scan the other one. And what we would like you to do is to help these startups get some feedback on their pitches. Concentrating in 1 minute, all the effort, dreams, energy that startups, the founders are putting to turn these ideas into reality is difficult. And we want to make sure that they're able to communicate these ideas in a very clear way. So when you open the form, okay, you'll have all the startups that are going to be pitching listed. And we're asking you 2 questions. How clear you think is the idea that the companies are communicating? How easy is to understand? And the second one, how exciting you think it is? Because we're talking packaging here. It's not just about how amazing the business model is. It's not about how interesting it is. It is about how well packaged. In 1 minute, you can describe your dream, all the effort, all the sacrifice that all of these founders put into their companies to turn them into reality. Okay? Anybody needs more time to scan the QR codes? They should work. If you are online, please feel free also to do it. Should be easy right now. We're sharing the screen. Taipei, Shanghai. Then let's get started and let's meet the new startups. Here you have all the logos, all the companies that are joining. We have 10 companies connecting today. And let's welcome first, connecting from Beijing, we have Scarlett from Zebra Labs.
Hi, good evening, afternoon, everybody. Quality content are mostly created in traditional way today, but millennials and Generation Z are spending 90% of their entertainment time in digital format. We are Zebra Labs, a digital entertainment company that is focused on creating virtual idols, virtual concerts, and high quality videos. We are building an avatar pipeline with existing tier 1 artists who normally have 10 million plus followers on social networks. We co-create these digital contents with the artists and own the IPs. Our team previously operated in traditional entertainment industry and also pioneered to excel in Silicon Valley with multiple exits to Tencent and China Media Capital. We are looking for investors, content, and platform partners. Talk to us. Thank you.
Applause for Scarlett. Come on, guys. Good. Nothing's recorded. Everything's live today. So please remember to vote, give some feedback to the companies as we move ready to welcome the next company. Also from Beijing, we have Guan Chuan from Zimo.ai.
Thanks to Oscar. Video caption drives engagement and boosts dollar returns for video creators. However, manual subtitling is labor-intensive. YouTube has auto captions but performs poor for real-life content that's often shot against noisy backgrounds. We are Zimo.ai. Zimo uses machine learning technology to fast caption and translate subtitles into 15 languages that help video creators reach a broader global audience with an accuracy of 90%, even against noisy content. We already have 1.2 million users in China from individual content creators, educators, and media publishers. We are expanding internationally, starting with the 50 million video creators in North America. Talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Guan Chuan. Please, big applause for the team. Give them some feedback, how clearly you understand what they do, how exciting you think is what they offer. And now let's get ready for the next startup. Let's welcome Guillaume from Atato.
Hi, everyone. Today, the crypto market is over $2 trillion. Bitcoin has gone institutional, but institutions still struggle to secure their cryptocurrencies. Those who do the storage, called custodian, use outdated processes based on traditional financial services and get in the way of their clients. At Atato, we offer a custody solution that combines an innovative business model with unique features that allow our clients to access decentralized finance and bring their own token. We are licensed in Hong Kong since 2018. We work with bank, DeFi client, and last week we just onboarded ZipMex, one of the leading Southeast Asia crypto exchange. We'd love to share more about our vision of the future of computing and what we are building. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got Maxime in this case. Please give them some feedback. Let them know how clearly you understand this crypto opportunity, how exciting it is. And now let's go and welcome Adam from Asset Direct.
Hi, everyone. Over 90% of the world's population does not have a well-established credit history and are ineligible for loans from a traditional bank. That means over 7 billion people globally are underserved. Think about that. That's 7 billion people. It's an incredibly massive opportunity. Asset Direct is a global loan search engine that helps consumers access loans from hundreds of alternative lenders that service the 7 billion. Through a network of thousands of global partners driving hundreds of thousands of loan applications, the goal is to move these people from offline to online, taking them from the world of the unbanked to banked, and servicing them with financial products and services throughout the course of the rest of their lives. This is a $1 trillion opportunity that continues to grow rapidly as more of the developing world comes online. To date, our platforms have generated over 4 million US in commission from financial products sold. This is set to 4x over the coming year. At this time, we're looking to raise 8 million to help scale our groundbreaking solution across Asia and eventually around the world. Thanks.
Applause for Adam. Connecting at the really wee hours from Canada. So let's get ready to welcome the next startup, Ahmed from DX1. Ahmed, you there?
Hi. Businesses are overwhelmed with billions of client conversations they receive in call centers or social media. They only respond and leave behind not just sales opportunities, but valuable insights for the business. Existing technologies offer either bots or analytics. A majority does not support voice, does not support Arabic, and does not personalize the conversation for growth. Our turnkey AI digital assistant help enterprises automate customer interactions in both voice and text, built from the ground for sophisticated dialects like Arabic. It captures opportunities and personalized with focus on growth, as well as instantly generating insights dashboards for decision makers. Our solution helped customers gain up to 27% growth with insights. And this year, we had signed $2 million worth of contracts. We achieved 10x year-over-year growth. Our fundraising to dominate a $44 billion market.
Thank you very much. Please, big applause for Ahmed. Not bad. Takes growth, 10x growth in a year. And now we have Tesh from Market Force.
Hello. In Africa today, over 90% of consumer purchasing happens through millions of informal mom and pop stores. Market Force enables these stores to restock the stores digitally and conveniently, as well as collect digital payments and earn extra income by acting as agents for popular digital financial services. Based on their purchasing habits, we enable them to access working capital loans and provide crucial market intelligence for consumer brands that distribute through our platform. We're currently serving over 30,000 merchants in Kenya and just launched in the largest Africa market, Nigeria. We're growing 30% month on month with over $20 million in annualized transaction volume to date. We just launched our Series A and are excited to chat with investors who match our global aspirations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tesh, for sharing. Great growth in Africa. We started to invest in Africa already, 6 investments in this year. And now, coming back to Asia, let's welcome Marco from Ensuro.
And allow them to launch new products in a fast and efficient way. Ensuro is securing a license as a reinsurance company, and this will allow us to tap into the traditional insurance distribution network. We're continuing looking for investors for our current round. If you're interested in learning more on how insurers is shaping the insurance market, hit me up. Thank you.
Marco, we have problems with the audio and nobody could hear you. So I'm going to ask you to repeat your pitch again. Can you please go back on stage?
Again.
Perfect.
What sound? Is it okay now? There is an increasing number of insurtech companies. However, even the most established one find it difficult to find the financial backing to launch their products. The insurance companies, the organization that provides capital to back up insurance products, are very traditional and their operations are conservative. This doesn't allow them to back up new insurance product fast. Insurance is creating an alternative to insurance. We leverage blockchain in order to collect capital to back up new insurtech companies and allow them to launch new products in a fast and efficient manner. Insurance is securing a license as an reinsurance company, and this will allow us to tap into the traditional insurance distribution network. We're currently raising our current round, so we're looking for investors. If you're interested in learning more on how insurance is reshaping the reinsurance market, hit me up. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Please, big applause. Especially if you're able to hear everything. Good. Now let's go back again to Africa, not to Africa again, staying in Asia. Let's welcome Enam from Egbas.
Yeah, hi everyone. In Bangladesh, every year, more than $80 billion worth of daily consumer good purchase happens through corner store, who procure such products from numerous distributors. However, many of these distributors are still very manual and cash-based trades, hence not being able to meet the demand from the corner store on time, leading to income loss for the corner stores. At Egbas, we are the next-gen digital distributor, connecting to mom and pop shops directly with our mobile app for order taking, digitizing the store, and using our warehouse, logistic, and credit facilities to ensure on-time inventory delivery to them. Currently, we are exclusive distributors to 3 brands and distributing products to 1,200 stores. Our GMV has already grown by 2.5 times in the last few months. We are fundraising to increase the size of our warehouse, inventory, logistic, and credit facilities to serve more stores. I'm Inam, co-founder of Egbas, and if this project excites you, please reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Inam, please. Big applause. And now back to Africa. Let's welcome Luther from Price Pally.
Thank you. On the African continent today, life is hard because food is very expensive, especially in the cities. Families spend over 60% of their monthly income on food. And this is because the value chain that serves them is very cumbersome and highly inefficient. At Price Pally, we are leveraging technology to change that, starting with Africa's most populous city, Lagos, Nigeria. Price Pally is a digital food cooperative platform that enables families and businesses to buy farm fresh food items together in bulk directly from farmers and wholesalers, which makes it cheaper and fresher than buying at retail. We have helped thousands of families save up to 25% of their monthly spend on food, and we are growing at an average of 30% month on month. We've doubled on our we doubled our GMV quarter on quarter, and 70% of our customers are repeating customers. If you would like to learn more, please reach out to me. My name is Luther. Thank you.
Thank you, Luther. And now, last but not least, let's welcome Andrew from X-Tingles.
ASMR, or Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, refers to a tingling and euphoric feeling often experienced on satisfying sounds. There are 3 billion total plays of ASMR songs on YouTube alone, including those made by Alicia Keys and Cardi B. We are X-Tingles, and we are the world's first ASMR NFT marketplace, enabling people to discover and own new moments of therapeutic and sensual sounds. We currently have 330,000 all-time website traffic, 90,000 collectors, and 5 household ASMR artists signed. We also rank #1 for ASMR NFT on Google. Our mission is to deliver ASMR to 1 billion souls, and our vision is to create a community-first ASMR metaverse. Thank you.
Please, big applause for the last one. So don't forget to submit the form. You've been voting for every company. You've been giving them some feedback on the clarity, how well you understand what they do, how excited you think you are. Just hit send. Sure, let me go back to, oh, maybe no. Can I? Yeah, the team is going to show it for you. Okay, here you have the QR code in case you accidentally close or you need to open it again. You're able to remember all the companies. Just let them know. Always very valuable. to get feedback on the clarity and how exciting is the explanation of really cool businesses. So with that, these are the latest group of startups that we invested as part of the cross-border ecosystem. As you can see, really crossing borders more and more to more areas and expanding to different industries, getting to work with founders from all over the world. And now, if you're interested in learning more about this, if you're curious to get access to the latest news, startups that we're investing, events that we're organizing, what happens, feel free to follow us. We are basically we're present in almost every single social media. But well, here you have a QR code where you can follow us on LinkedIn, where we tend to publish consistently every news that happened for any one of our companies, and also let you know about the events that we organize. And now, yeah, if you're a startup and you're interested in being part of this ecosystem, in our both websites, you can come and there's a section where you can submit your business proposal. You can let us know about your startup. You can communicate with us so we can explore and evaluate if we can help you, if we can leverage all of our ecosystem to help your company move faster. And now, time to meet our impressive speakers. Time to meet all the 8 people that is going to be today sharing their stories. And first, connecting from Taipei, we're going to have Wayne Huang. Wayne is an entrepreneur, deep technology background that built his company and sold it to a listed company where he stayed for a few years to learn more about what was the difference of working in a big company. Now he came back to the entrepreneur world and is the CEO and founder of XRX. So Wayne, welcome to the stage. Please, big applause for Wayne.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, everybody. All right, so I hope everybody can see my screen. My talk is about entrepreneurship is an extreme sport. My name is Wayne. I'm serial co-founder. Recently, XRX closed a 17 million pre-A. Before that, I was CEO and co-founder of Amarize, which was very successfully acquired by Proofpoint. Proofpoint's listed on NASDAQ and headquartered in Sunnyvale. This photo was me on a trek in the Alps, and the big holes and the little holes you see there are the crevasses. And if we happen to fall into one of them, it could kill ourselves. So as a serial entrepreneur, I'm often asked these questions by fellow entrepreneurs: how to pick co-founders, or who is suitable to be an entrepreneur. And so today I'd like to talk about entrepreneurship like an extreme sport. In 0 to 1, Peter Thiel wrote, "The biggest secret in venture capital is that the best investment in the successful fund equals or outperforms the entire rest of the fund combined." This implies 2 very strange rules for VCs. First, only invest in companies that have the potential to return the value of the entire fund. And the second rule is there's no second rule, right? So what does this say to us if, as entrepreneurs, if we want to take VC money? Well, if you want to become a VC-backed entrepreneur, your goal won't be to build a profitable small medium business, because that's not going to make the 30x to 100x to 1000x return that these VCs are looking for. Your goal will be to build a highly scalable business, solving critical pain points in huge markets. You try to be the 1% of VC-backed companies that survive, and most likely you will fail. And this, I took this photo out of my camp in Aconcagua. It was almost 6,000 meters in altitude. And on that particular expedition, we had to turn back. We weren't able to summit because of a snowstorm. And here is a sad photo of a sad family. The mother was upset. She was holding her newborn baby. And it was a Seattle Times article titled "A Long Night Waiting for the Phone to ring. It was during Ed Viester's third attempt to summit Annapurna, his last of the 14 8,000ers. Ed Viester is the first American to summit all of the world's 14 8,000ers. And it was his third attempt on Annapurna. He was not in touch, and it's long past the time when he should have returned to base camp. So here, quote Paula, his wife, assuming he makes it safely back to base camp, the Viester's family will be able to close a stressful life chapter. And here is a worried family, a very worried wife, and it is not a normal lifestyle, and it didn't look at that time like a happy lifestyle, at least for his family. So I like to talk about mountaineering. Many people feel it's a very selfish sport, especially when you have kids. Many top athletes die every year, and this year, some of my favorite athletes died on K2. And even just going to the toilet when you're above 6,000 meters is a monumental task. So why do mountaineers do it when after you summit, you don't even get credibility, and sometimes you get criticized for having done it in the first place, because it is very selfish for your families, at least. Why do mountaineers do it? Because they've been training for years, and because they are confident of their skills, because they feel they can do it, and because they love the risks, the challenges, and the tough work. And it's not a normal lifestyle. I would also say very often it's not a very healthy lifestyle. So finally, what does it take to be a VC-backed entrepreneur? I feel you must love the climb, not the summit. So let me elaborate. It cannot be that you're feeling that, hey, I'll finally relax once we found market fit, or I'll finally feel good once we're profitable, or my stress will finally be gone once we've exited. Because if this is how you feel, then my guess is you're going to have a very horrible life as an entrepreneur. You must do it for the climb itself. You must love the climb, and that's why, like all the mountaineers, right after you summit, you go to your next climb, because the goal is not to summit. The goal is to prove yourself, to prove your skills, to prove that you can do it, and to climb. And you are so confident that you have all the skills to be that surviving 1% of these VC's portfolios. And you know you're doing extreme sports. And that's a photo of me on a lovely trek in the Alps. Thank you very much for your time.
Very much for sharing, Wayne. Yeah, definitely entrepreneurship. It is an extreme sport where you have a lot of ups and downs constantly, and where, you know, having people around that have done it, that they can share it, that they can illustrate to people what is the journey that they're getting into and how you need to find a way to enjoy that journey, because that's going to take you to the next level, is really one of the great things that we have in our mentor community. And now, next, we have another one of our fantastic mentors here in Shanghai. Please, big applause for Jessica Gleason.
Sorry, I'm going to get mic'd in front of all of you. Hold on just a second.
So meanwhile, I'll give a couple of thoughts, comments about Jessica. So Jessica is one of fantastic mentors, helping all our companies scaling one of the most critical parts of any startup, the team, HR. She was today CEO of Bright Beauty, but she was known because she's one of the people that brought here a brand that most of you know, Starbucks. So now ready, Please, let's welcome Jessica.
I think I get 2 mics and all that. So welcome. Thank you for the nice introduction. Tonight, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the innovation or the intersection of innovation and culture. And particularly a little question for you. So if you think about your organization, what is the value of a single line to your organization when placed on the right piece of real estate? And the piece of real estate that I'm going to talk about this evening is this one, the very famous, very popular Starbucks Frappuccino. So a lot of people know the history of how Frappuccino started. There were a group of managers down in LA. We had just opened the Los Angeles market. Starbucks had 5 whole stores in LA. And one of the managers, Dina, realized that in order to best serve her customers in this market, she was going to need to add something beyond just an iced mocha and an iced latte. And so she and her district manager, Ann, went out, they grabbed a blender, started making new products, and great, perfect for LA sunny weather. But they had bigger dreams. And they thought, what if? A friend of theirs had just moved up to Seattle to work in the operations team. And they thought, well, if we could reach out to him, maybe we can pitch to get this added on as a permanent product. And that's exactly what they did. This team of partners worked together, created a product, pitched it to the organization. It was approved in the winter of 95 to roll out in the spring of 95, which meant that the project team basically needed to go create processes, find blenders, and figure out how to redesign all 600 of our stores in a matter of months. So that was the background for Frappuccino itself. It launched to rave reviews. There were only 2 Frappuccinos back then, but all across America, people accepted it and were really excited. The problem was the product, while wildly successful, was also wildly inconsistent. And Starbucks had built its reputation on delivering very consistent, high quality, handcrafted espresso drinks. This was a new world to us, and a world of inconsistency was not one that felt good to the brand. Our customers noticed, and our senior leaders noticed. So what landed on my desk as a project was, hey, Jessica, we need you to go out and redesign all the training for Frappuccino so that we can make sure we train our people the right way to make this product. Now, I was a former barista, and in the back of my mind, my question was like, really, how hard could this process be? It was a pretty straightforward thing. You take a cup, you fill it with ice. You pour in liquid till the ice floats, pour it in the blender, and then blend. Should be able to get it right, right? Well, here's the great thing. When I went out to the field and I looked around, it was consistent. Behaviors were consistent across stores, across experience levels of baristas, but I had a problem. The beverages were not. And so while it wasn't a hard process, it also wasn't good. And so after spending a little time looking at it, what I realized is I did not have a training problem, but I definitely had a problem that I was going to need some help with. So I ended up, oops, sorry, don't want to steal the secret. I ended up reaching out to a couple of peers of mine, Len and Tim. And Len and Tim and I had all been baristas in about the same generation, but gone different places in the organization. So Tim was now working in our great R&D lab. Len was responsible for test products across the company. Whoops, I don't know what is going on here. Someone's doing something with my slide. Who knows? But anyway, so Len was responsible for test products. And when we got together, we realized pretty quickly what the problem was, and we thought we had a pretty good solution. So who can guess, why do you think I was having a problem with inconsistency with these beverages? Pretty straightforward process. Water? What about the ice? Ice cubes were pretty standard, but the space between ice cubes varied. And as a result of that, the liquid in each cup varied and the product varied. So we came up with what we thought was a pretty good solution. We just changed the order of the way you made the drink. Because if we could control the consistency of the liquid, we could control the consistency of the beverage. And so we thought, hey, why don't we add a line to this cup? And because we were all super young and super enthusiastic, we didn't think it should be any problem to change an iconic cup in a brand. And so off we went to the procurement people, who were very nice and said, well, yes, we can do it, but you're going to need to provide us with artwork. So Jan was really kind to us. We went off to the art department and we said, hey, we'd like to put a line on the cup. And they were like, yes, but you'd need to have R&D give you the standards for it, because we don't just put lines on cups. So luckily, Tim was on the team. So Tim was able to go back, got us the right measurement. We got the cups. They got rolled out across the Pacific Northwest. Tim launched them across the whole market, but he was doing a test in the pilot district. And we knew we were onto something good, because at the moment we launched it, not only did the product improve instantly, but baristas in adjacent districts started changing their behaviors before we had taught them how to do it. And we had told them to ignore the line, but they ignored us because they cared so much about beverage quality. So here it is, a super simple process. We took the time to change the process and change a line. Liquid ice blend serve, but that little green line contributed $1 million in savings to the company the first year we rolled it out from reduced cost of goods. And that's what I call a simple and sweet solution. So in the years since I've left Starbucks, they've grown a lot. They're now at 33,000 stores, 79 countries. But one of the things that's been really fun for me to watch as a customer is how the innovation in Frappuccino has also continued. New products, more customization, more optimization. Green tea Frappuccino from one of our international markets has gone global. Such cool stuff. But my personal thing that I get excited about is what is consistent with all that innovation is that little green line. If you go buy your Frappuccino today, it will still be there. So the project, pretty straightforward. A great idea, followed by a person who could help them ideate it and get it rolled out at the speed of espresso, which compared to China seems like decaf, but at the time it seemed really fast. Widely accepted, and this little innovation brought $1 million to the bottom line. But what we thought was really great about this was that everyone involved in this project was actually in their early 20s. We had no authority, we had no budget. But what we did have is a sense of purpose around the organization. The folks that invented the product got the President's Award that year, as they should. Those of us on Libs got the Spirit of Starbucks Award, and I got in a little bit of trouble with my manager. Apparently, I demonstrated just a smidge too much entrepreneurial spirit. But, because I was in training, we didn't create standards. But the thing when I look back on it is what made it really brilliant was this idea that each one of us actually worked exactly within our sphere of influence and responsibility, but we would walk over right to the edge, reach out and ask for the help from the adjacent person. And by coming together with this strong sense of purpose, we were able to roll out this initiative. And it's really driven by Starbucks building in us this culture of innovation, this culture of ownership. How do we as individuals make the company better because the company takes care of us? How do we hold ourselves accountable to the highest standards? So I left you a couple sips to consider for you as business owners and new entrepreneurs, and they're the following. Do you value simple solutions or just sexy solutions? Because that $1 million line also probably paid for 3 or 4 stores that year, which brought in more revenue as well. Are you building ownership of individuals, but also the processes for their insights to be heard and executed upon? Do you create a trust and try culture with your international markets so they have a chance to bring new ideas forward? And more importantly, I think maybe in this audience is, are you creating products or are you creating platforms that can grow with you, your organization, and your customers? So for me, a lot of value in organizations get lost between the insights of your people and their ability to get traction on innovating those insights. And that's a lot of responsibility for us as the leaders in the organization. So my $1 million question for you is this: how many $1 million lines and billion-dollar businesses are currently hiding inside your organization. And I wish each of you the best of luck in finding them. And if you're just new in your career, I do a hats off to Len and Tim and say, keep an eye out for your $1 million line, because regardless of your level in the organization, you have a huge opportunity to add value. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, always great to have this, and every founder always been trying to find that. No? Entrepreneurs, they always have limited resources. So innovation. Hey, Shiva, get her. They always need to find opportunities to grow and expand and scale, ideally using as little as possible. And now we have our next speaker, also connecting from Shanghai. We're going from innovation and food to venture capital and fintech. So please welcome with a big applause, Wei Homan, managing partner and founder of Arbor Ventures.
Well, thank you, Oscar, and thank you everybody for having me. I'm a venture investor, as Oscar mentioned. I co-founded a fund called Arbor Ventures. We are the largest Asia-based fintech firm, but we do invest globally. So we have portfolio companies from China down to Indonesia, US, Israel, and the GCC region. I love what I do for a living because every day I get up, I get to meet really smart, ambitious people who are trying to solve very difficult problems. But people often ask me, what do you do and how do I work with you? And I would tell you, writing that first check is actually the easiest part of my job. I spend 95% of the rest of my time working with my portfolio companies and hopefully someday getting my money back. So what do I do on any given day? I'm your biggest cheerleader. I will help you evangelize your brand, your product, your company. I will leverage my resources to help you make introductions to the next customer, next business partner, and the next investor. When you hit a rough patch, I'm there to give you a Band-Aid, but more importantly, to help you figure out what went wrong and what could you possibly do differently the next time. I can also be your extended HR team, leveraging my network to help you find that next great hire. And sometimes it's also my role to be critical, to keep you on your path so you don't stray from what we all agree to. One of the companies I invested in, first time I went to the board meeting, the CEO and another board member got in such a huge fight that nasty words simply weren't enough and projectiles started flying across the table. Luckily, I'm pretty nimble and I was able to duck. But like it or not, sometimes I'm the referee. I help navigate difficult relationships between co-founders and sometimes between other investors, and to help you see each other's perspective. And as Wayne mentioned earlier, being an entrepreneur is really tough. I get it, I've been there. And sometimes it puts stress on every aspect of your life, not only at work, but often at home. So oftentimes I am the shrink, right? My entrepreneurs will come and sit on my couch and tell me what their problems are. And maybe sometimes because I'm the only woman in the room, they not only tell me what they're facing difficulties at work, but also in their personal lives. I may not be able to help you solve all your problems, but I can certainly empathize and perhaps share some of my perspectives. And this is not to tout how great I am. Every single one of your investors should be willing and able to do this for you. But keep in mind, we're all busy people. You're not their only portfolio company. So how do you make sure that you get an unfair share of their mind and their time? You have to be really smart about figuring out how to help me help you. Think about why you took money from these investors. And the answer better not be, well, they gave me money or they gave me the highest valuation. Hopefully your answer includes, well, I value their sector expertise. I value their strategic network. I think they have really interesting global insights. So you have to be very smart about leveraging and making your investors part of your extended team. But the only way your investors can truly help you is if you're willing to be open and transparent at all times, not only when things are going well. You cannot tell me at every single update that you're crushing it, only to whiff on the next quarter's budget because you lost that key account. You have to tell me what's keeping you up at night. What are you worried about? What's not going well? How can I help before it's too late? I know vulnerability is a very difficult thing to show, particularly for type A personalities, which I know a lot of entrepreneurs are. But that is, to me, a true sign of strength, because we're there to help you, but we don't know how to help you if we don't know you're stuck. But when you do reach out for help, please make sure you stay very focused. One of my favorite entrepreneurs in my portfolio, CEOs, he sends me a to-do list every month, every quarter. It gets updated from time to time. Now, he doesn't expect me to do all of those things for him, but what it does show me is what are his 3 to 5 top priorities. So I can be focused when I think about how can I help in what's most critical, what's most time sensitive. And be very, very specific when you do reach out to ask for help. For example, if you're looking to hire someone, don't just say, well, I want a rock star head of sales. I want a rock star engineer. Well, of course, who doesn't want rock stars on their team? But show me their job spec. Tell me what are the 3 key technical skill sets that you think this person must have. Tell me what are the personality traits that you think will work well and gel well within your team. Maybe ideally you say, I would like this person to have come out of Alibaba in the back-end operations in e-commerce because that's a skill set I need. Or perhaps I want this person to have experience selling into the pharmaceutical industry because that's a new vertical I'm trying to launch. And maybe even tell me what stage of the company this person should have had experience at. Because if you're launching a new startup, having somebody who's only worked at Fortune 500 companies with huge marketing budgets may not be necessarily the right fit for you at this stage in time. So the more specific you can be, the more we can be helpful and not waste any time, anybody's time. And also do your research before you reach out to ask for help. By that, I mean, of course, you can reach out to your investors and board members, say, well, help me land a new customer, help me do this. But what's more effective, one of my companies came to me and said, hey, we're launching a new payment product for the travel vertical. I see that you're on the board of booking. Is there any way you can connect us to the right person who'd be willing to do a POC with us? That's very helpful, and I know what to do with that information, right? You can say, oh, I see, I went through your portfolio on your website, saw all your portfolio company. I see that this particular VC has co-invested with you in 3 of your companies. You know, we think they'd be a good fit for us in our next round. We would love to have them on our cap table. Can you make an introduction? The key is when you can make these very targeted asks, not only are you much more likely to be successful in getting what you need, you frankly also make it really difficult for the other person to say no. But let's just say you're doing everything right? You've gotten great investors, you built great relationships with them, and you figured out how to leverage their resources to help you. At the end of the day, you're still always going to be faced with very difficult questions and hard questions that you have to solve. In fact, sometimes as investors and board members, we may give you conflicting advice. Right? One of my companies right now, we have a very lively debate at the board level. One investor says we should stay in the B2B lane. One says we need to go B2C. And there's pros and cons to both. But you have to remember, as a CEO, you are the ultimate decision maker. You have to be critical about the advice that you are getting, and you have to have conviction to make your own decision and drive that to a successful outcome. Peter Drucker, I think, had a very famous quote: every time you see a successful business, someone somewhere along the line made a courageous decision. And as an investor, I want that someone to be you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing, Wei. Well, I mean, that's definitely like the whole story is critical. No, any entrepreneur that is only getting money from an investor is not getting the whole value that you can have. So you need to pick your investors, and you need to look for long term. You need to think, if this capital is meant to help you take your company to the next level. Sometimes there are things that you can get that are not necessarily financial resources. You might need so many other things. And I know for long term, when I met Wei when she was in CITIC, talking about the experience helping founders running POCs with big multinationals, that is a skill that is very, very, very specific. And now we are gonna go and welcome another speaker that is gonna be sharing today. Is this correct? Yeah, correct. We're gonna welcome Sharmin Ali, that's gonna connect remotely, and we're gonna have an entrepreneur sharing. Sharmin is one of the founders that was backed by SOSV. Is one of the founders that have been doing amazingly, but she has a very, very interesting story. She is an artist. She is a theater actress. She's a writer. She's a lot of interesting things. So Sharmin, off to you, please. Big applause for Sharmin.
Hey, thank you so much, Oscar. Are you able to see my screen? Am I audible? Are you able to see my screen, Oscar?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see your screen.
Okay, I'll just put it on full screen. Just tell me if it's visible now. Is it visible now, full screen?
Still, yes.
It is. It's visible, right? Full screen? Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this. I'm Sharmin, and I'm the founder and CEO at InStory, and also one of the Chinaccelerator backed companies. In my opinion, I think the most interesting and the most attractive trait in any human being on this planet is rebellion, because not everyone can manage to hit that button, but the ones who can are definitely very attractive. This journey began back in 2010, post my engineering, when I started working in the US, in New York City. I was at the age of 22. I was in a very comfortable six-figure, a salary-based job, working at the Wall Street, essentially working with a number of clients. I was an analyst, needless to say that, though I don't see myself getting back to that life ever again. Basically, I was just helping the rich get richer, wasn't adding too much value to my own life. Well, as exciting as it looks like on the screen right now, I was essentially the one on the plate. I was getting roasted. And after almost 5 years of being roasted, one day I finally decided to write a little love letter to my boss. And I took the plunge and I quit. Soon after, I went to a lot of places. I traveled to almost 45 countries with all the money that I'd saved to essentially garner some perspective on life. There's this one thing that I'd love to share. So whenever, you are on top of a cliff, don't you always get that feeling that, should I jump or should I not jump? Essentially, how do I gauge how deep that, that cliff is? I've had that, notion a number of times. Just two things can happen. If you actually, manage to gather yourself, then you would, stop yourself from jumping, because you'll be like, okay, what if I die? Or otherwise, if you really are someone who goes with their impulse, like me, you would actually jump. So I did. There is this one company which has really had a huge impact upon my life, Netflix. As we all know, the whole Netflix revolution had begun in the US a long, long time ago. And I just absolutely loved, how they have pivoted over the last, last decade. And then now they are into, absolutely creating digital content. This was an area which I was really, really inspired by. So after I quit my job in New York and I came back to India, The first thing that I did was, start my own content company, which was in the media space essentially. The whole idea was to create a lot of digital content and then, switch Indian audiences from consuming content on their traditional, television sets from TV to, their mobile devices. Well, I ran that company for 3.5 years, and we ended up creating, 70 plus original scripts of our own. And we had created a lot of content on YouTube, on Vimeo. And eventually, I think one thing that we realized was that we were a little ahead of our time because the whole geo internet revolution hadn't really happened in India until then. So as a result of which, mobile devices weren't really a thing, and consuming digital content was still at least 4 to 5 years away. Once you finally know that you're a little ahead of your time, what do you end up doing? So we ended up selling the copyrights of all our scripts to a Bombay-based production house, took the money, exited, and I'm pretty happy to have done that because we were one of the first ones in this space initially. And I took the money and then traveled 5 more countries. So it was good. And I'm also happy to share that, sometimes it does feel good when I see some of my content trending over Amazon Prime India. So it does feel good that, okay, if not me, someone else at least took over. Then came 2018, which, 2018 is when, the first company exit happened. And then post that, I also ended up creating, more content. But this time the format was different. Earlier it was videos. And now what we did is that I created a lot of textual content. So I wrote 2 books, got them published. And, one of them essentially turned out to be a bestseller back in 2019, January. That is where the whole idea for, my next startup came to me. For those of you who already know InStoried, you also know that an Instagram logo seems a little off place, out of place on with the InStoried name. But for those of you who do not know, this essentially started with, with the idea that, we wanted to be the Instagram for stories. And, so essentially we were more of a blogging platform. We had about 80,000 plus, users and, articles. But then we were not able to really monetize the platform. In fact, then, we thought of creating something like a database for a lot of, books, something like a Blinkist of sorts, wherein you could just subscribe and you could start reading content. But then after a number of iterations, this is what turned out. And this is what we finally are. And I'm glad that we took this pivot. So right now at InStoried, what we do essentially is that, as we know that large companies out there are really, really bad at communicating. They have a tough time building human connections and communicating with empathy. So we thought that, why not help all of these guys, create content, which is, data-driven, scalable, and the whole approach is very empathy-driven and, of course, powered by technology. So we help you create content using AI, and we help you, evaluate what is the tone and the emotion of your content, what is the empathy quotient of your content using AI, and also give you recommendations. But it wasn't all this hunky-dory when we started initially. Now, this is where, a bit of a reality check essentially comes into place. I haven't really said this on a public forum like this before, but I'd like to share this, that when I started this company back in 2018, October, November time, my first CTO, he actually ran away with the code and he blocked me and he just disappeared from the face of this planet. Of course, I'd given him some money, but I don't know what happened to that money eventually. But yeah, he just ran away. And I had no clue what to do because I'm not the tech person. I am, I've always been into enterprise sales. Sales is essentially my thing. But then eventually I realized that, everyone has a story to tell. And turns out that my story was really exciting. Of course, the whole, experience of having worked at Wall Street and then done my first company and then written 2 books and, all of that. So turns out that yes, there were a number of investors who wanted to, play that game essentially, and bet on me and bet on this company. And I'm happy to share that I actually raised $500,000 in pre-seed without a team, without a CTO, without a product, and without any revenue. And this was something that I never thought would be possible. And until that day, I never really understood how important was it to have a very, very strong personal story, because at the end of the day, it's a gamble that any investor has to play when they are betting on a founder. Turned out that this, we eventually got that money. And then, of course, I'm really happy to share that today, as of today, I have the best CTO ever. And we have a great team in place. And now things are really taking shape. Also, just, before I conclude, I would love to share some of my learnings that I've had in the last 2 years, because of all the building blocks that fell, and then I went into an abysmal low, and then I came up from that. So I was suffering from a huge personal loss when I started this company, and I know, as a matter of fact, that this need not be mentioned, but the thing is that we founders are very lonely people. And turns out that we need to channelize that negative energy into the right direction, and it is absolutely possible. There are some of these learnings that I got very, very early on, and that is that the only thing that will actually prevail in your company is your team. You need to have the best team possible, the best leadership team at the grassroots level. People who can, essentially connect with you, who can connect with your vision, you as in, the founder, and someone who can essentially take, help you grow the company to a point where you want to take it to. So team is everything. You should never invest in anything else but your team, and you should have the best team in place. Another second learning, needless to say, thanks to the pandemic, we actually started selling, during March, April last year, just when the pandemic began. And the biggest learning for me has been that no money is ever enough. So if you can, get some extra dough in your account, keep it. There is no harm in it, and I'm sure that, we all need to have savings when, because it's very unpredictable. We don't know when we might get the next pandemic. So get the money, use it, save it. Third learning for me was that, raising money is a full-time job, and this is the job of no one but the CEO. So you need to have the right team in place to take care of all the other things, because your job as the CEO essentially is, to get food on the table. So unless and until you're not doing that, I don't think the company can really grow. Unless, of course, if you have the right sales and you don't need money. But since we are in the deep tech SaaS space, for us, revenues did take time. So for us, raising money was really important. And if you are in a space similar, then yes, being a founder, this is definitely a full-time job, and you have to constantly keep raising money. You can't stop. It's a vicious circle, but yeah, that's how it is. Another very important thing for me has always been that my gut was always right. If you feel that this is not going to work, you need to pull the plug. Please do it, because nobody else but how to run your company. No one essentially can tell you better, as in how to run your company better. If you feel that this is something that is not going to work, this team is something that won't help you move forward, then yes, you have to let go. If you think this product isn't really working, get the right people, the right product to essentially make it work. But if you have that feeling, tingling notion somewhere in your brain, you should definitely believe it. And last but not the least, a lot of founders have, approached me in the last 2 years asking me about, hey, how do you raise money? As in, how do I know how much should I dilute? What should be the valuation of the company? I think my first And only, advice to them is, guys, beggars can't be choosers, right? I mean, no matter how terrible it sounds, but that's the truth. If you desperately need money to, grow, and if someone has, if someone is kind enough to actually invest in you, don't waste your time negotiating, because, it's not fair on your part. Just take that money, build your company to a level, and then post that, of course, then you can negotiate with investors in your larger rounds, of course. But initially, when you're raising money, do not go back and forth about how many extra shares should I dilute. Just let it be your first company. It's not about you making money, it's about your investors making money. Let them trust you, grow, show that yes, this is something that we can do, we can build. And then in the future rounds, I'm sure you'll get a lot of opportunity. So that's all that I wanted to share. That I took the plunge, I jumped, and that was my little story of Hootspa. If anyone would like to reach out to me, I'm always reachable on LinkedIn, and I'm mostly always online. And my email ID is there on your screen, sharmin@instory.com. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Take the plunge, but yes, be kind to yourselves. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Sharmin, for sharing the entrepreneur perspective on this topic of fundraising that becomes so relevant. Okay, we're halfway there. We're done with 4 speakers. We have 4 more to come, and now we have a special request. If you are online, please turn on your cameras. We want to have some visual memories for today. So we're going to have like a collective selfie connecting, taking pictures of people that is connecting online, and then there will be some selfies happening in Taipei. And yeah, I got my camera here to make sure that we have some pictures here. So please put your best faces, get ready to take some selfies here. Okay, selfie time. Say cheese, everybody. Happy? You enjoying the event? Yeah, I can see. Let's repeat again, okay? Are you enjoying the event? Okay, good. Let's do another one from the other side. It's too far. I cannot see the guys on this side. So come on, another one. Pictures, come on. Are you enjoying the event? Okay, cool, great. And now hopefully the selfies are done online too. Yeah. Cool. So we'll have your selfies published so you can see, you can check yourselves later. Cool. Let's go back to the presentations with our next speaker. We have our next speaker ready to connect online, and we're gonna have Arun Verma. Arun was the person that was leading a company that some of you might know in China and Southeast Asia, Shopify. But today he is working on a new secret startup, still in stealth mode. We don't know. Maybe he shares something today. So Arun, are you ready?
I am ready.
Perfect. So please, big applause for Arun.
It's a good presentation so far. Jessica, I can't believe a little green line drove so much value. It's pretty stunning. And I really enjoyed your presentation, Charmaine. I feel like our two presentations are going to really dovetail. So let me just share my presentation. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see your screen.
Great. Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to, imagine, a lot of my career has kind of been at sort of the stage at companies where they have found a ton of product market fit, and they're at sort of the next phase. And so I thought I'd focus my presentation here on, some of the challenges that I run into as companies start to scale. I'm turning 40 in about a month. And so I was, when I was making this slide, it was kind of fun to reflect back. And it seems a long time ago, but I used to be an applied physicist. And I was really into kind of semiconductors and nuclear physics. But I also spent a lot of time developing a deep understanding of business, because I sort of did 2 degrees, one in applied physics and one in business. And when you look at my career, it's kind of best understood. Some jobs I had where I sort of wore a technology hat, and some jobs I had where I wore more of a business hat. When I was at BlackBerry, I started off in Canada, and I worked for them back when it was really awesome, really like groundbreaking. I eventually moved out to Singapore, and I was largely responsible kind of in a product pricing role, sort of a revenue defense role. While there, I ended up meeting the owner of AirAsia. For those of you who are familiar with AirAsia is a pretty big airline out here. And so I worked for them in a couple of different capacities. I started out in Malaysia as their group head of technology. And then eventually I pivoted my role to start up their, it was kind of like a corporate VC, which was called Tune Labs. With the idea there was that, you know, we could find startups and help them get access to AirAsia as their first customer. And actually, not included on this slide, we ended up, we invested in a ton of startups. We ended up also creating a bunch of different businesses there. So lots of learnings. And then from there, I joined Shopify. Shopify was kind of a weird company at that time. Like, it was a, you know, fairly old, young company. They hadn't really expanded internationally. I always like to call it, at least back then, they had this kind of field of dreams strategy where they would just build one platform and then hope everybody would adopt it. But when I joined, they decided to, you know, really make a considered effort in expanding internationally. And so we started off in Singapore, trying to figure out if we could bend the growth curve there. And then we extended sort of a playbook that we learned to Southeast Asia. And then from there, took that playbook to China and had a lot of success. And today I'm at a stealth startup. So sort of weird to say that. It's pretty big, but it's a stealth startup. And I'm covering APAC. And yeah, just put some photos there that just like different places that I've lived or worked. Yeah, so kind of lots of, it's been fun to kind of work in different capacities and then also in different places up till now. So what do I mean by building at scale? You know, you can imagine a time, you know, like in Storied, right, where you're slowly starting to find product market fit, you pivot a bit, and you start to build some scale. As you continue on that path, you know, after you've built your first, you know, big team, you start to get more and more customers. What starts to reveal itself is a whole new set of challenges that you didn't really anticipate. And you sort of have a different tool set when you're coming, or a toolbox when you're coming to this set of problems, right? Oftentimes, and I'll tell you a little bit about what those types of problems are, but oftentimes you'll find that the answers are kind of unknown. Your decisions, because you're at a certain scale, your decisions are, you know, in many ways, sometimes they're still reversible, but it's a lot harder, it's a lot slower to do. And, you know, unless you have kind of a rule book or a set of principles to adhere to, you really end up in this zone of paralysis. And yeah, so what are those problems? You know, once you found that kind of initial product fit, and you started to scale your organization, how do you build a team that really cares about what you're doing? I mean, people are going to invest their time. They're gonna you know, work the weekends. And how do you create an environment where people continue to care? Beyond the initial product market fit that you found, how do you continually do that? I mean, your customers change, your organization changes. So how do you continually try and find product market fit? And then how do you establish a new North Star? You know, it could change, you know, like as market changes, you'll have to change your overall goals. So these are the types of problems that you run into, and it's murky how to solve them. So a while ago, I came up with a set of principles or guidelines that have helped me set myself up to make the right decisions when you have to make those decisions or when you're confronted with a new problem. And so what I thought I'd do today is sort of share those. And so actually I have a much longer list, but decided to cut it down just for this presentation. But as an example, I'll just flashing them on the screen right now, but I'll sort of go through them in more detail. Let's start off with the first one, ownership. So what is ownership? This came out in some of the earlier presentations. Your organization is best served if all of your staff feel like they're a part of the mission and they own, there's a clear line of like them coming up with something, implementing it, and then seeing its impact, right? So how do you do that? How do you develop ownership? Well, the best example here that I found was when I was at AirAsia. If you imagine AirAsia is an airline, low-cost airline. And if you just zoom out and you blur your eyes a little bit, actually, a lot of airlines are very similar, right? They all use the same type of planes. They all have very similar technology. They do differ on brand, but that environment creates an incredibly competitive space where, and you probably know this from your own experience, that you might make a flight decision just based on a couple dollars difference in price. So in that extremely competitive environment, how do you win, right? And AirAsia has demonstrated some pretty good success here, right? Because they've started out in Malaysia and they've scaled to many countries. And one of the unique things that they did there was they really decentralized a lot of their activities. So you have AirAsia Malaysia, you have AirAsia Thailand, you have AirAsia Indonesia, AirAsia Philippines, and each one of those are sort of replications of each other. So it's like not the best synergy, but what you lose in synergy, you gain in ownership. And what that enables for the team on the ground is they're able to generate ideas, see their impact, and not go through a kind of a whole rigmarole to get something out. And I think that's really one of the keys to success for AirAsia. It's this idea of how they developed ownership as a part of their culture and then allowed for these best ideas to win and for them to lead. That's sort of one rule. Second rule just comes from my experience at Shopify. For those of you who don't know Shopify, it's an e-commerce tool set. So it's a really simple way. If you wanted to sell something, you could probably put up a website in 10 to 20 minutes. Where Shopify has had a ton of success is really building on this direct-to-consumer wave, where brands or artists or creators build an authentic connection with their customers and get their products out into the world. And why Shopify has been successful at that is they sort of really simplified all the technology so that there's no longer a barrier and they could just go to market. And when I was there, we're seeing a lot of success there. But we were starting to look at China and we're saying, well, how do we enter China? How do we make headway? And I'm sure a lot of you on the call will know it's a very different market. And e-commerce and how the typical buying behavior in China is just different. A lot of people buy on marketplaces versus, on a direct-to-consumer website. So, at first glance, when we started, we had a very small business in China when I first started. So we did some analysis, right? We took a step back and say, like, maybe there's a way that we can figure something out. And we sectioned off the market into 3 opportunities. We said, there's a possibility of a domestic opportunity. Maybe, there is some direct-to-consumer stuff happening in China. Maybe we could be the best at it. We throw all our resources at it. There's also an import opportunity where you'd allow for global products to be sold in China with ease. And we did a bunch of analysis. There is a market there. But then we focused on, we also researched export, where you allow merchants in China to sell to the world. And we found a real resonance there, because merchants at the same time, they also wanted to get connected to their customers, and they also wanted to diversify their revenue streams away from just Amazon, eBay, and Wish as their sort of cross-border platforms. And once we focus in on that, we did some early experiments, where we would just try and get something out, try and iterate. We had a ton of success. It was kind of like an overnight thing. So the lesson for me was really finding the segment to focus in on, really finding the customer to focus in on. And that can sort of take a problem that seems super complicated and very difficult, and then demystify it and just make it a lot easier. Last thing, always make the product better. Product is not just R&D. And this goes back to my time at BlackBerry. This is, for those of you who don't know this is a BlackBerry Storm. And this was like the touchscreen competitor to iPhone that BlackBerry launched. And I can remember when that came out, there's a lot of internal excitement. And I was sitting sort of in the kind of product revenue sort of org. So I didn't get to see it until actually it was like just about to release. And I think it's fair to say that that product had a ton of problems. And I think if you could, write an epitaph on BlackBerry, this might be mentioned. And so I'm reflecting back on that, on the launch of Storm, and then the company that I'm currently at, and also at Shopify, there was a core difference, a core cultural difference, and it was that and if you go to Shopify today, they think that everybody's job is a product job. They'll trade sales any day if you're trading those sales to make the product better. And I don't think that was true at BlackBerry. So as you're starting to, scale your business, it's important to keep this idea that it's everybody's job to make the product better. So that means it's your sales teams, it's your support teams, it's things that you wouldn't normally think of as a product job. But if you start to think of it like that, then you get a lot of focus on trying to produce something that's really awesome for your customers. So those are the three that I have. Actually, I spent a lot of time kind of thinking through these and have a couple more. If you want to chat or reach out, please do. I'd happy to dive into any of those in more detail. And also, I did write something on kind of product market fit that would be nice to share too. So just reach out and I'll be happy to share it.
Thank you, Arun, for sharing. Yeah, product is the core of every startup, and obviously the startups that are able to understand and get the insights from the sales side to make sure they can make products better, R&D, operations, all of that can be great. Awesome. Thank you very much for all your support when you work with our companies. Now, almost every single speaker mentioned something that is quite important. Almost everybody talk about the team, talk about motivating people. They all talk about how can you inspire, etc. And most of you have probably seen this list that get published every year about the best places to work, about great places to work. Well, today we're lucky to have as our next speaker, Alicia Tong, that is heading Great Places to Work for China. So please, big applause for Alicia.
Wow. All right, you're getting me nervous. I'm Alicia Tong. I'm COO, Great Place to Work, Greater China. Before I joined this company, which is January 2019, a lot of people doesn't ever heard about this company. So I'm proudly to announce that since I joined January 2019, 2019 has become the most profitable year ever, and the 2021 almost double. So there are a lot of business, and why is that? It's all about the people. So actually, if you go back to the previous page, you realize that Jack Ma is a great guy, Steve Jobs, excellent. But if you put Jack Ma into Steve Jobs' role, it could be a disaster. You might not have the iPhone you have today. You will have an iPhone, a different style. So people make a big difference, particularly for startups, because in startups, less team members, you have a smaller team. It stuck. Okay, so according to startup.com, top 13 reasons why startup fail. I only listed 10 because I would like to show you the very interesting 2 that most of people ignored. On number 3, it is the right team, not form the right team. On number 4, it is get out-competed. Out-competed, no matter for the market, for the product, or for the creativity, it's all driven by talents. So it's telling us, if put 2 together, people, talent is the number 1 reason for startup fails. So it is important, right? But a lot of people still struggling. So how can we make the people right? Let's see what is usually talking in the workplace. I need some help to turn to the next page. Great, thank you. So on top we see people, and people form team. So if you hire the wrong people, things getting complicated, unpredictable, and gradually the team form a workplace culture that is on the right: politics, conflicts, evolution, 内卷, and the workplace PUA. So you have people and the team, but not the right culture. And on the other hand, you might have a fun, resourceful, and complementing team that is with a lot of trust, respect, appreciation, diversified, and inclusive. Believe me or not, my company is hired and paid to do a lot of evaluation assessment to make sure the workplace is here at the right culture. And that's what I just started talking about. Our business doubled actually in 2021. That's telling you how many companies eager to find out whether they are competitive in this perspective. And why is that? Because the root is people. The root is going back to people. So let me tell you a case about my role. Actually, there are more cases, but they are similar. I was hired 2 times at least to fire. So I was hired to fire. So I was hired to fire. What kind of position? The first time I was hired to fire, which is a little bit shock, but well, you'll get used to it when the second time happens. So the first time I was hired to fire HR, Human Resources Director for China, for a very reputable retail company. Name is not important, but can you imagine if a HR director for China is the wrong fit? What's the impact to the company? How many employees are there? What are their incentive and compensation programs? What about the recognition? What about the talent development? Everything is to do with this person. And I was hired to fire the person. And of course, the first time I was a little bit shocked. So for the second time, I was used to it, but this time is beyond my imagination, because this time I'm hired to fire a president for China. And the business, yes, the business is actually, their company is the number 3 in the industry globally. So they hire a president for me to fire. Let me tell you the direct impact. Don't talk about, how many decisions was made wrong, what about the strategy. Let me tell you the direct impact about this firing these 2 people. It is between $200,000 to $1 million compensation. All right, so we definitely can imagine there are many more behind this termination, because decisions were made by that person. So I'm not here to tell you, okay, don't hire, because what if it's the wrong person? I'm actually here to offer tips. So what about if we hire the right person at the beginning? And how can we make it happen? So that's my reason here. The critical issue about the cases I just shared is that formality, which is happening a lot in China. People talk about changes. They put changes in paper, document, policies, but in reality, it doesn't go into the mindset and behavior. So we follow whatever people is told, but changes are not actually happened. The cases are also because the people hired are based on resume. A lot of people hired because of big names behind this candidate. A lot of people hire because of reference. Okay, he told me, she said he is good. All right. So no clue about trades and skills that is necessary. Okay, and of course, in a hurry. Okay, we are doubling our business next month, so we need a person now and yesterday, not tomorrow. Now. So that's why when I was doing HR jobs, sometimes I was very hesitating to tell people, oh yeah, I'm a HR people. Because in most of people's comments, HR is dumbass, like slow, totally not up to date, doesn't know what is happening in the world, and doesn't know how to hire the right people. So the hiring was really chaotic when you don't even go through the proper channel. Okay, I'm not here to promote HR, don't get me wrong. I'm saying there are a lot of reasons to make it wrong. And it is even more difficult today when the team is getting agile. It is no more traditional team. You need a cheerleader, but cheerleader cannot serve all purposes of how agile team that everybody is an individual that work on a very specific task or role that you have to put them together. So the role for the leader or team has changed and facilitation become very, very important. So ability, well, here is for you if you are the business owner and if you are creating a lasting team. If you are just saying, Alicia, you know what, I find a buyer and who is going to buy my business tomorrow and I become a billionaire tomorrow, maybe you can take a break from next. But if you are doing a business that you want to make it bigger, lasting, substantial, and also sustainable, then here is for you. Okay, you are the key, you are the business owner, maybe a small team or getting bigger team, doesn't matter. If you are the business owner, you take control of everything, then the ability to empathize is very important because only when you show that you understand, then people will voluntarily engage. Right? And of course, create a culture that is welcoming critiques and reflection. Well, I'm saying this because I have a lot of clients who doesn't like critiques, no critiques, the Constitution, all right? And also facilitating the actions. So not just talks, not just like caring, love, we have to facilitate the actions. Facilitation is an art. And we are not going to touch anything about facilitation today, but facilitation is much more complicated than training or leadership or communication. It takes a lot of maturity and experiences to do it well, but it is now critical to create an agile team. All right, and of course, remember why we're here at all times, the purpose, why we're here. So today, same as any time in history, so we are not unique. A lot of people telling me, and well, I don't know whether you can major or not, business size range from 50 to 50,000, startup to multinational corporation, all of my clients working hard to become best workplaces. Everyone is asking for people. Everyone is dying for talents, everyone. So even the most sophisticated business like biotechnology or fintech or startups, every company is dying for talents. So find and keep the talents is the task that we have to carry on. And what is a so-called right person for today? It is a person who complements, means I'm a half, you're half, we put together, we're one or better than one, right? And with great learning potential because we don't know the technology tomorrow and we need to have a fast learning ability and willingness to learn in order to keep your organization grow like a real person. So hard-won lessons, stay hungry, stay foolish. Well, it's from Steve Jobs, I steal from him, but I think it can go a little bit beyond what he was saying for the first time. Not just a business product, technology, or customers. To your team, people who are around you. Try to always be curious about what is happening to them. Why? Engage them, engage them. The best idea always comes from people. And I'm saying this because I have a client, and believe it or not, 100% the private Chinese company, not MNC, but they are doing this better than any MNC. They are offering 2 million innovation fund for any employee, no matter background, function, department, age, it doesn't matter. For if the person can help the company go beyond the current business model. And there is one team who has won that such an innovation fund. And their clue is just like anyone who is asking for the investment here. They got 2 million from their company to develop a full scale of software purchasing and delivering system for their company and product. They only sell one product, that is chicken products, not Kentucky Fried Chicken, chicken products. All right, so there's another one for you, the hard-won lesson. We had 2 world wars, but there is talent war every day and everywhere. All right, so don't just stay here. If you read, like every presenter was talking about people, teams, and how do you form a happy, working together, then please try to make people matter, a lifelong journey and also mission. So don't just give up right now. Okay, I can do it myself. Okay, oh, he's gone. No, it's okay. We can hire another person. So don't give it up. Try to make it a sustainable business, not only your financial business, but also your people business. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, much, Alicia, for sharing. Yeah, I mean, you guys heard it. 2 years ago, we started an initiative inside the cross-border ecosystem of SOSV to help our companies find and retain the talent. And that was because the CEOs of the companies that were growing really fast were spending almost 50% of their time finding these people. A few months ago, when these initiatives were rolled out at the whole SOSV globally, in a conversation with one of the top venture capital funds in the world, they told us, your CEOs are not spending enough time because our best CEOs are spending 80% of their time finding that talent. So this is really a big battle. This is very important. So please keep some ideas, something that we can apply for everybody. And now we're going back to Taipei, where directly in our office in Taipei, in TTA, we're going to have our next speaker, John Ke. He was a third employee for a luxury catering company that was acquired for over $400 million and then end up working for Uber, leading Uber Eats, one of the fastest growing food companies in the world. And now he went back to grassroots entrepreneurship, starting his new company. So John, please, big applause for him. The stage is yours.
Thanks, Oscar. So today I'm going to be telling you about the most generic advice that all startups get, but why it actually works based off of 2 of my previous successful startups. All right, the first one is find a problem worth solving. Startups are hard. It's a grind. You want to find a problem that you feel passionate about. So every day when you're waking up, during the many years you're working on this company, you can grind through it. The other reason is you're trying to build a business. You're trying to build $1 billion business. You ever find a problem that's worth solving that many other people also face so that you can actually build a business around this problem? At Caviar, it was a food delivery company, but we wanted to eat really good food. We were foodies ourselves, and we were like, why'd you get the best restaurants delivered? Given this was back in 2013, when DoorDash and Postmates and Caviar didn't exist. We actually all started around the same time. And so we were all working professionals in like accounting, consulting, banking, etc. We're wondering like, how come I can only order this crappy Mr. Chow's Chinese fast food on my $30 stipend every day for lunch? Why can't I get these good restaurants delivered? It turns out a ton of other people also thought this was a problem, because when we launched our New York Caviar office, we got flooded with so many orders that all the founders had to fly out. Every employee staff had to go and do deliveries themselves just to satisfy and make sure all these orders are delivered properly and on time. At Welcome, my second company, is a virtual events company. The setting for this was COVID had just hit. We were all stuck inside. We were going through a ton of like conferences and web calls all the time. We're like, man, this is boring. Why are these events so boring? Like, why can't we have like great engaging software and great engaging, platforms for these events? We were, watching things off WebEx, etc. And turns out a ton of people thought this was a problem too. We actually started interviewing a ton of event industry professionals, and they're like, yeah, this software is terrible. Why don't we have better items out there? So we went out to seek and solve that problem as well. The second piece of advice is to listen to your users. This means not just talking to your users, but really picking out insights, picking out things that you hear that are common themes among many of your users. You're building this product for your users, so listen to them because they'll help you build your proper product roadmap and the features you want. So for Caviar, we again were our users ourselves. We were foodies, we wanted really good food delivered, but we also are a three-sided marketplace. So we actually went out and talked to restaurants, and we're asking these restaurant owners like, hey, why don't you, deliver your food? I distinctly remember a conversation with Danny Bowen, who's the owner of Mission Chinese Food, and he was like, man, if I put my restaurant on Seamless, that just tarnishes my brand. Do I want to be on this website with like Mr. Chow's Chinese fast food? No, I don't. And the couriers there, they don't care about the food. They'll arrive an hour late. It's cold. It's terrible. It's a terrible experience. So then we went out and sought to build a premium branded food delivery service so that all the restaurants on there are good food, and they would be proud to be on there, and all of our couriers would actually care about the food, arrive on time, have thermal bags, make sure it's delivered in a proper way to properly represent these restaurants. And for Welcome, we actually went out and talked to hundreds and hundreds of users. We didn't even just focus on conference event planners. We talked to them. We also talked to sound guys. We talked to audio visual companies. We talked to sponsor companies, people that sponsor these events. And we really used that to build our product roadmap and kept iterating to ensure that we were building exactly what the users wanted. Two of my co-founders were also event planners themselves. And, they used to plan these events. They were like, man, for everything to go off without a hitch, for it to feel smooth, like all those different things need to happen. So we really were talking to our users, hundreds of conversations, taking notes to make sure we're building exactly what they want. All right. 3 is to optimize for speed. As a startup, you're small. Your only advantage is your speed. A large company like Cisco WebEx could have built what we built at Welcome, or Seamless Grubhub could have built a premium branded version of their company, but they're actually really inundated with bureaucracy, so they're slow. They're not able to quickly iterate. As a small startup, you're able to be nimble and really go for speed to test your product, make sure it works, and then keep scaling from there. So for Caviar, we did things that didn't scale. Our first dispatch system was so primitive that it was a website. Every courier could see every order coming in, and we just told them, don't assign anything, don't touch it. And we would have to manually assign thousands of orders every day. It was definitely a grind. I remember going to Mission Chinese Food, our most popular restaurant in New York City, after lunch, and I would actually manually dispatch orders there and batch them. I would actually look at a Google map of where every order is going and grab like 3 orders and be like, here, courier, go take these together. Because we didn't have a batching system. We didn't have auto dispatch. We just knew people wanted this, so we optimized for speed and got it delivered. I even had couriers coming to the restaurant to interview, train, and then go out for deliveries at the same session. I was like, all right, you're good, go. So, really optimized for speed, but we were able to deliver a great product. People loved it, and so we were able to grow quickly. At Welcome, how we optimized for speed was we knew it would take months to build a very complicated, audio and visual web conferencing system. So we faked it. We built a Figma of what it would look like in a prototype, and we went to all these hundreds of calls, interviews with users, and we just faked it. We were just like, oh yeah, this is the product. And then we're just going through the Figma. They would know it's not the real product, and we would take their feedback and then change the Figma and then just keep iterating. So we finally got to a point where people were like, wow, that's amazing. How can I buy that? I'd pay $20,000 to use that for my event. And we're just like, okay, now let's start building, let's start coding. So you got to optimize for speed, but it helps you iterate and learn faster than if you were to take a couple of months, build the product, nobody likes it, then we got to change it, etc. So in conclusion, find a problem worth solving, listen to your users, and optimize for speed. It is very generic advice, but it's generic for a reason. It works. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe, for sharing. And yeah, it might be simple, but it is what it is. And sometimes one of the key things that makes entrepreneurships or entrepreneurs successful is just making sure that you don't forget about the simple stuff when everything becomes very complicated. And now, let's get ready to welcome our last 8x8 speaker of the night, connecting from Shanghai. Please welcome Kapil Kane, head of Intel Growth China.
Hi guys, it's great to be here for the second time, but today I'm not going to talk anything about Intel. Instead, I'm going to talk about my past life at Apple and try to dissect the Zen philosophy of product design that I got to experience for close to a decade there. Until recently, I had this belief that Apple's product design philosophy was all about aesthetics, the simple and pure product design. It's partly true, but it goes way deeper than that. You see, Zen belongs to a branch of Buddhism that believes in perfecting the 6 principles of wisdom. And I believe that, along with other spiritual encounters that Steve Jobs had, really shaped that design philosophy. So what are the 6 principles? They are generosity, ethics, and patience, and I'm going to dive deeper into those 3 in this talk. And then there is effort, or the practice of diligence, and the concentration or the focus or meditation that Zen is known for. And finally, practicing and perfecting that wisdom that you gain from all of those 5. So let's talk about generosity to start with. When you're designing product, have a generous goal for what you're doing or what you're designing. When it came to iPod, we wanted users to carry their favorite song library with them wherever they went. With the iPad, we wanted to have the user be able to access everything, all the books they needed at their fingertips. When you have a noble why, it's easy to empathize with the user. And when you have that empathy, when you put yourself in the user's shoes, you are really able to create products that touch people's lives. If you're doing something just for the opportunity, you're not able to empathize with the user. And so if you really want to build a product that changes the world, you need to start with a generous why. Moving on, let's talk about ethics. And ethics are these principles you use on a daily basis to in your making your design decisions. For a long time, all Apple laptops they were held shut with a hook, and we had a button which you pressed would release those hooks and pop open the display just a little bit for you to get your finger in, then open it all the way. And you could do this operation with the one hand. When we went to really ultra thin laptops, there was not enough space to put these buttons or the hooks or the mechanisms that are hidden behind. And me and my couple of buddies were tasked with finding a solution to create this experience of popping up the display open so you could get your fingers in. And we've been working on this for many months. We had gone through many prototypes. And finally, I think after 6 or 8 months of working on different things, we were ready to present our 3 designs to Jonathan and I. And we were gathered on this table, the exact same table in our design studio at Apple. These 3 designs had 3 different technologies, but there are 2 things in common. They were very complicated, and they were very clever as well. They used the latest and greatest of technologies. And we were very excited to see what Johnny would pick so that we could go on and develop that into the product. And after we went through the paces, after Johnny saw all the 3 designs, he simply went back to his office and brought back an old prototype we had done, put it on the table and said, this is what we are going with. Let's kill the pop-up altogether. And since then, all Apple laptops that are shipped, they have no buttons, no hooks, no nothing. It's simply kept shut with magnets. And we provided this little notch at the front so that user could just get their finger in and open the display. It's that simple. You know, a lot of times we get so caught up in this new technologies and complicated design. The more complexity you add into your design, the more chances of you having trouble. And so the lesson we learned from this was not to overpower your design with the technology. Really think of what you're trying to achieve, and if your solution really justifies the amount of complexity you're putting into the product. And this is just one example of how we practice these principles of design at Apple. The third thing I want to share with you is about patience. A lot of people think that iPad was just a stretched out version of the iPhone, meaning that it was an afterthought, that iPod came first, then we simply stretched it, and then boom, you know, iPad is here. But that couldn't be farthest from the truth. iPhone was released in 2007, right? And in 2004, I dropped out of school to go design tablet at Apple. And we spent a couple of years trying to turn that idea into a product. But other than perfecting the touchscreen, we couldn't get anywhere close to a product. And as we perfected touchscreen, it was just taken away from us and given to this another team who were working on a secret project. And a year and a half later, iPhone was launched with our touchscreen. Right? So you can see, you know, where I'm going with this, that, you know, iPad was not an afterthought. It's the iPad that gave rise to the iPhone. After this debacle of touchscreen, I built the iPod Shuffle, and then I moved to China to build the MacBook Air. And as luck would have it, a few years later, I was reunited with the tablet when they asked me to lead the product design on the tablet they were developing. And I did it from China. And in 2010, we released the iPad. if you think of this, it took me 6 years and actually a couple of internships before that to realize the dream why I left my school to join Apple to achieve. But if you think of the 6 years as long enough, Steve Jobs had the dream of iPad 27 years before the iPod was launched. He just called it a book, a computer in a book. So as you're designing, as you're working on problems, know that you need to be patient. Some products may take 2 years to realize, some may take 7, some may take 27 years. The patience is the real virtue when it comes to design. And don't just rush your products into the market. I know there is this thing called fail fast, learn fast, lean startup, and all that stuff. But if you are building some really big products, really don't rush. Be patient. That's one of the the design wisdoms, and it's the most difficult one to practice. So to kind of recap on the 6 philosophies, when you set out on your goal for designing your products, be generous in your design endeavors, be diligent, be ethical, and be patient in way you operate. And finally, be concentrate, meditate on the design problems and think through deeply. And that's when you can get the design wisdom. Towards the end of Steve's life, he was asked this question by his biographer, Steve Isaacson. What was his most favorite product, or what was his biggest achievement? What do you think? Is it the iPad, Mac, iPhone? What do you guys think? Any guesses? Something else? I think 3 of the past 4 speakers talked about it. Huh? No. It's the team that they built at Apple. Right? So I think that's in his, very, very close to his dad. That's what he thought was his biggest achievement, is the team that can continue his legacy when he passes on. And so as you're thinking of designing all these products for your startups or companies, know that it's in fact the team is what you're building. That's maybe your biggest achievement, in your entire career in that company or the startup you're starting. And that's the Zen philosophy of product design. Thank you.
He was not prepared, having so many talks about team and HR and how it is important, but it's definitely deeply in our minds that that is something critical and very important. So we're reaching the end of the event. And if you're interested in these talks, if you're interested in learning more about these amazing people that we have the luck to welcome to our ecosystem, we have a podcast. And actually a few of the people that have spoke today, they already shared in the past as part of this podcast. Some of them are actually in a lineup to bring them in. So scan the QR code or simply go to your favorite podcast app. We also in Spotify, in iTunes, etc. Just search for Asia Startup Pulse, and then you'll be able to get to know more about the movers and shakers of the startup community and innovation across Asia. If you didn't catch us earlier and you want to keep in contact with us, learn about the events that we organize, the newest startups that we're bringing in. If you want to work in any of the startups that we have in our portfolio, we're constantly also promoting here all the opportunities in these companies. And now, well, thank you very much for everybody that has joined us today. Great pleasure to have you all. Please keep engaged, keep connected. And if you have the luck to be in Taipei or Shanghai with us, let's continue the conversation outside where we have some drinks and food. So thank you everybody for coming. Big applause for everybody that make it possible.